Our favorite doctor, Dr. Fauci, is back in Congress because he decided to lie to them the last time. He now says that 6 feet apart came out of nowhere from the CDC. But don't worry, he had nothing to do with it. Also in the news, we have Mexico electing a new president, and she is an off-the-rails leftist. We're going to be digging into her and a lot more on today's episode.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
Dr. Fauci would like us not to dig any deeper into his time at the NIAID. He would prefer if we would just stay quiet about everything that he's ever done in his whole entire career. We are not gonna stop, especially because he cannot stop lying in Congress himself. Just over the weekend, he said that he doesn't know where the 6-foot distance thing came from. What he doesn't remember, or more believably, what he's not telling Congress, is that he's the one that kept going along with the 6-foot rule, even though he might not have agreed with it. It's not even like he didn't agree with the rule. He embraced the rule. So that's a little strange for a person that didn't agree with the rule in the very first place to go along with the rule. If I could remind everybody, we had to go along with the one-way aisles in grocery stores for no reason at all. We had to miss a whole entire year of graduations because of it. But if you're like me, I didn't even put on the mask at all in stores, but that's besides the point. Dr. Fauci had no problem at all with Joe Biden cracking down on people who didn't want to social distance, didn't want to wear masks, and again, had no problem at all with Joe Biden forcing OSHA to mandate everyone who works even in the private sector to get the Fauci ouchie. This includes over 80 million Americans. His motto was to follow whatever the NIAID and the CDC say, not the fact that we are, quote, unsure. This is how we think that you can stay safe. We think that this might be the solution that might work. No, it was none of that. It was just forced participation into an absurdity that will not make any situation better whatsoever. And this brings us straight into the select subcommittee on Dr. Fauci. And this brings us into the .gov website from the select subcommittee. This was actually published in May 31st. And this is the transcript of his time in Congress. So today's select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic chairman Brad Winstrup, Republican from Ohio, released a transcript from Dr. Fauci's transcribed interview. Dr. Fauci served as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the NIAID, and was the face of America's public health response during the COVID-19 pandemic. His closed-door, 14-hour, 2-day testimony in January 2024 has served as a critical component of the select subcommittee's investigations into the origin of COVID-19, pandemic-era domestic policy failures, and improvements to the United States' public health system. In conjunction with the transcript, the select subcommittee also released a new staff memo that highlights the key takeaways from Dr. Fauci's transcribed interview. The memo can be found here. The select subcommittee also released additional transcripts for senior public health officials. They have Dr. Fauci Part 1, Dr. Fauci Part 2, Dr. Hai, Dr. Cliff, Greg Folkers, and Gray Handley. So, the 6 feet apart social distancing recommendation forced on Americans by federal health officials was arbitrary and not based on science. Dr. Fauci testified that this guidance, which shut down schools and small businesses nationwide, sort of just appeared and was not based on any scientific studies. This is according to the select subcommittee itself. Majority Counsel, do you recall when discussions regarding at least a 6-foot threshold began? Dr. Fauci, the 6 foot in school, the 6 foot overall. 6 foot was applied at businesses. Dr. Fauci, yeah, the majority counsel. It was applied in schools. It was applied here. At least how the messaging was applied was that 6 foot distancing was the distance that needed to be. Dr. Fauci, I don't recall. It sort of just appeared. I don't recall like a discussion of whether it should be 5 feet or 6 feet or whatever. It was just 6 foot. Did you see any studies that supported 6 feet? I was not aware of any studies that, in fact, that would be very difficult to study to do so. Dr. Fauci testified that he did not recall any supporting evidence of masking children. Concerningly, masking children has been associated with learning loss and severe speech development issues in America's children. Majority Counsel, do you remember receiving any studies or data supporting masking children? I might have, Mitch, but I don't recall specifically that I did. I might have. Since there's been a lot of studies that have come out since the pandemic started, but specifically on this, there has been a significant learning in the loss of and the learning loss and speech in development issues that have been associated with particularly young children wearing masks. While they're growing up, they can't see their teachers talk, and they can't learn how to form words. Have you followed any of these studies? Dr. Fauci, no, but I believe that there is a lot of conflicting studies too. There are studies that say, yes, there's an impact, and there are studies that say not. I think that there's stuff that's still stuff up in the air. Okay, so the thing is, if it's still up in the air, why are you cracking down on American citizens that don't do that? Why are you not allowing those citizens to go into schools if they don't mask up? Why are you telling the principals of the schools to then get the people in trouble for not wearing masks? In my own school, I didn't wear a mask, and the principal in front of the whole entire school told me to put on my mask the right way, even though I had my mask like a diaper on my chin, which is the correct way to wear this preposterous thing on your face for no reason whatsoever. Not only that, but I was also forced to wear it at work, where it was the hottest summer in America, in the recent time at least, and it was about 90 degrees every single day. We actually lost our AC because coincidentally, just the world can't help us whatsoever at my work, I guess. We also lost our AC. And then we also have two 650-degree ovens that we use at work. I work at a pizza place. We were sweating so much. The mask was filled with sweat. We had customers coming in on top of that and yelling at us. And then we had the Board of Health, quote unquote, come in and show their badge like they're a mall cop or something, telling us to wear the mask the right way. We're not going to wear a mask that's going to go and force ourselves to only breathe this air that's saturated in sweat. That's disgusting. What people are not realizing is that, again, this was all up in the air, and it was all things that don't really help Americans. The cloth masks, they know don't work. That's why they were telling us to, quote unquote, leave all the KN95 and the N95 masks for the health professionals. That's why they were saying this, because they know that those are the two masks that actually work. Those are the two masks that the doctors still use and have always used. But there's a protocol to be putting on the mask in the very first place. You're supposed to first wash your hands. Then you're supposed to touch the outside of the mask, not where you breathe. You're supposed to touch the mask from the string. Doctors know this. And then you're supposed to change out the mask every single hour or so, because of the fact that the mask becomes so saturated in what it is filtering out that the mask is not helping anymore. So that's totally different. And then you can also see that some people were even wearing the P100 masks, which, yes, that filters out that, but then it filters out even more stuff. And then you're supposed to even have a greater protocol with the P100 masks, which at the beginning, when I actually believed the narrative and believed the mainstream, I actually bought the P100 mask, because I was like, okay, well, if we're going to go and have a real situation here, how about if I prepare for it? So I went and bought the $120 P100 mask, which I can change out the filters at the end, and it looked like something that was out of like Call of Duty or out of a sci-fi movie. It was quite scary. But at the same exact time, I knew that if I was to wear this, I could be presumed as safe. So again, the narrative at the time was for people to be scared. But as soon as I saw that they were lying, I never wore this thing again. But I did wear it in the basement when we were actually moving, so it did not go to waste. So I actually got to use it at least one time, and it did help. We were moving stuff in the basement and stuff like that, and then I didn't have the mask on. I put this P100 mask on afterwards, and I felt much better. It helped drastically. It was a drastic change. But moving on with this article here, there was also travel restrictions. Dr. Fauci unequivocally agreed with every single travel restriction issued by the Trump administration at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. This testimony runs counter to the public narrative of the Trump administration's travel restrictions were xenophobic. During his transcribed interview, the Biden administration consully curiously prohibited Dr. Fauci from answering questions on whether he recommended the travel restrictions. Did you agree with President Trump's decision to restrict travel from China? I did. And I said that there were caveats to restrictions. I agreed with it, but I said that we have to be careful, because sometimes when you do restrictions, they have negative consequences, and that you don't have open access to help or even information. But fundamentally, I agreed with that at the time. since we had almost no infections that we knew of in the country, that at least a temporary restriction would be important. Okay, so again, if this was to come from China at the very first place, wouldn't you think that China would be the first place that we actually restrict travel to and from, so we can restrict the illness from actually spreading? That's not xenophobic. It's like whenever you do anything that affects a certain country disproportionately, they say that it's either racist or xenophobic, or it's affecting the country unproportionally. Yes, that's exactly the point, but it's not because of the race of it. It's because of what is actually happening in that country. It's like America is forcing, or recommending highly, you not to go to Ukraine or Russia or North Korea or any of the other states that are currently battling in a war right now, because it's not safe to do so. So because of the fact that it's not safe to do so, and the United States tells you not to do that because it's not safe, it's a recommendation. Also, at the same exact time, they know for a fact that this is not going to be safe to go in those places. So you can take those recommendations or you cannot. But the thing is, if they restrict travel to and from those places, there's a reason that they're doing so. They don't want to just restrict travel and because of the fact that these are Chinese people. Like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Majority Council, did you agree with the EU travel restriction? I agreed with the suggestion that it would be done. Yes. Okay, so that doesn't even make any sense. You agree with it? I agree with the idea of it. Okay, so you agree with it. Like, can you just, yes or no? Did you agree with the UK travel restriction? Yes, I did. Okay, good. Did you recommend instituting travel restrictions in response to the pandemic? I'm going to step in here. The Biden administration official came in and stopped Dr. Fauci from answering that question, of course. So Dr. Fauci admitted that the vaccine mandates during the COVID-19 pandemic would increase vaccine hesitancy in the future. He also claimed that these mandates were not significantly studied ahead of the pandemic. Previously, Dr. Fauci advocated that when you make a difficult call for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated. That's what Dr. Fauci said, and I quote, "Do you think that mandating vaccines could result in some hesitancy? I think that one of the things that we need to go after the fact now. 2, after the game, after the event, evaluation of things that needed to be done. We really need to take a look at of the country, but maybe some social type studies to figure out, does the mandating of vaccines in the way of the country's mental framework is right now, does that actually cause more people to want to get vaccinated or not? I don't know, but I think that's something that we need to know. No, it's not something that you need to know, because forcing people to do something that they do not agree with is not going to help the problem, especially with a vaccine that we took 10 months to come out with, which is obviously not tested and safe. It's obviously not something that's good, because of the fact that everybody that got the vaccine, if you ask them if they had the information now that they would have had in the past, would you have gotten the vaccine? Everybody says no. Every single person that I asked that got the vaccine, if they had the information that they have now publicly available to them, they would not have gotten the vaccine. So, with that being said, coercing, forcing, and leaving information off of the table for people to make the correct decision themselves is the right way to do so. If you know that you're telling the truth, then let the lies go through and encounter them with the facts. Don't suppress the information that people are saying, because it makes people believe this preposterous claims even more. What you then do is you make sure that people know what the truth is by spreading the truth more. You spread the truth, and you also spread the narrative that people are saying about the truth. Then you let people make the informed decision themselves. Don't coerce them. Don't look at the fact that people getting a vaccine or not and then saying, well, you'll get a cheeseburger and some french fries if you get vaccinated. That's not going to make people want to get vaccinated. Stupid. Maybe some fat people, but that's about it. Do you think mandating... Okay, so I already read that one. Dr. Fauci acknowledged that the lab leak hypothesis is not a conspiracy theory. This comes nearly 4 years after promoting the publication of the now infamous proximal origin paper that attempted to vilify and disprove the lab leak hypothesis. So, just you sitting here today, do you think the possibility or the hypothesis that the coronavirus emerged from a laboratory event is a conspiracy theory? Well, it's a possibility. I think that people have made conspiracy aspects from it, and I think you have to separate the two. When you keep an open mind, that could be a lab leak theory, or it could be a natural occurrence. I've mentioned in this committee that I believe the evidence that I've seen weighs my opinion towards one, which is the natural occurrence. But I still lean maintain an open mind. So I don't think that in itself, it isn't okay, he makes no sense. He doesn't think that it came from a lab, but there are some conspiracy theories, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he's trying to play both sides, like, oh, I'm nonpartisan here. No, during COVID, you said, no, people are just stupid if they believe the lab leak theory. This is a natural occurrence. You did so many interviews with whoever you can find, even small YouTubers, and said all of this talking points of this. So it's not even like you had an open mind during COVID and, hey, one with the force, man. You can believe whatever you want. No, it's not like this whatsoever. It was never like this whatsoever. Dr. Fauci knows that he's just playing both sides because he's in Congress right now. That's all that he's doing this for. Dr. Fauci reportedly played semantics with the definition of gain and function research in an effort to avoid conceding that the NIH is funded in this dangerous research in China. As the head of the NIAID, in the face of America's response to the pandemic, Dr. Fauci certainly understood the common definition of gain and function. Yet, he repeatedly refused, both behind closed doors and to Senator Rand Paul during a 2021 hearing, which we covered on my old show, Don't Trust What You See. We had this on Rumble because YouTube kept banning my stuff, to clarify a general understanding of the term, and instead only referred to his own operative definition. Dr. Fauci, so when I'm asked, is something gain of function, I'm referring to the operative definition of gain of function, according to the framework of the 3 PCO. That's my definition. That is a regulatory operational definition. And as we were talking about before, other people use the word gain of function, this gain of function, that. And everybody's got their own interpretation of it. No, this is direct definition. And because of the fact that you changed the definition of gain of function research, you and your cronies changed the definition of gain of function research, it does not make anything better or worse it doesn't make anything better. It certainly makes things worse in your side because of the fact that you're changing the definition and then saying, well, I go based off of this definition, and this definition just changed last year. So forever, we've known gain of function research to be conducting research that could end up spreading from an animal to a human. That's gain of function research. Gain of function research is that exact definition. But now gain of function research is something totally different, according to Dr. Fauci and his cronies. So, conflicts of interest. Dr. Fauci claimed that his staff had no conflicts of interest regarding the origins of COVID-19, yet his senior advisor, Dr. David Morinans, was best friends with the disgraced and soon-to-be deboard EcoHealth Alliance president, Dr. Peter Daszak. Concerning Dr. Morinans worked under Dr. Fauci's leadership for more than 20 years. It seems highly unlikely that Dr. Fauci was genuinely unaware of this relationship. But not only that, but also the creator of the PCR test that we used during COVID said that Dr. Fauci is not a person to be trusted, and he always disrespected Fauci because of the fact that Dr. Fauci had no idea what he was talking about. You can look up the creator of the PCR test himself. He says this all the time. I want to make sure that I am quoting Dr. Mills correctly in a 1996 interview. Okay, so who is Carrie Mills? Carrie Mills, a person that actually invented the PCR test that allowed scientists to create millions of copies of a DNA molecule. It was hailed as one of the most important scientific inventions of the 20th century, a discovery that, among countless other applications and research, gave scientists the ability to study DNA from a 40,000-year-old frozen mammoth and helped investigators take tiny amounts of DNA to identify any crime suspects. It's the technique that Hollywood used to revive dinosaurs from fossilized DNA in the 1993 movie Jurassic Park. Mullis died August 7th in the Newport Beach, California home from heart and respiratory illness, and he was 74. Of course, there's a whole entire hit piece of him on the Los Angeles Times when he first passed away, but these are his points on Dr. Fauci. He has a whole entire 2 minutes of the 1996 interview where he talked about Dr. Fauci. YouTube relentlessly banned this video during COVID, but I will be playing it here because it's important to play that here. So this is the PCR test inventor's thoughts on Dr. Fauci. Watch this.
What is it about humanity that wants to go to all the details and stuff and listen? You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine, and he should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on the bottom. You know, those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people that pay his salary and lie directly into the camera. You can't expect the sheep to really respect the best and the brightest. They don't know the difference, really. I mean, I like humans. Don't get me wrong, but basically the vast majority of them do not possess the ability to judge who is and who isn't a really good scientist. I mean, that's a problem. That's a main problem actually with science, I'd say, in this century, because science is being judged by people. Funding is being done by people who don't understand it. Okay, who do we trust? Fauci? Fauci doesn't know enough to, if Fauci wants to get on television with somebody who knows a little bit about this stuff and debate him, he could easily do it because he's been asked. I mean, I've had a lot of people, president of the University of South Carolina, ask Fauci if he'd come down there and debate me on the stage in front of the student body, because I wanted somebody who was from the other side to come down there and balance my, because I felt like, well, these guys can listen to me, but I need to have somebody else down here that's going to tell me the other side. But Fauci didn't want to do it.
Okay, yeah. So of course, Dr. Fauci did not want to debate Kerry Millers, which is the inventor of the PCR test, because Dr. Fauci doesn't know anything. Dr. Fauci, in his lies that he constantly says over and over again to make himself seem like he knew what he was doing during it. If you would like to read this whole entire thing, we're not going to dig in more deeper than this because of the fact that this is a whole entire transcript. There's a whole entire page dedicated to this. I will link this down below if you do want to read the whole entire Oversight House Committee on this. It's a press release. This was published on May 31st, like I said. It's called COVID Select Subcommittee Releases Dr. Fauci's Transcript, Highlights Key Takeaways from the New Memo. So it's very, very interesting. I hope that everybody does dig deep into this because it's very, very worth checking out, because it's very important for you to finally, after years and years and years of being lied to, finally get the facts, in which I was trying to cover the best I could possibly on Rumble. All of my videos are still on Rumble. A lot of people have been saying, well, how come you're saying this and sometimes you're saying this? My opinions have always been clear. My opinions have always been transparent. You can look on Rumble from 3 years ago during the height of the pandemic and stuff like that. I've always had the same exact opinion on things, but YouTube always blocked my stuff, and I was too afraid of YouTube actually banning my account altogether. So after I got 2 strikes, I waited it out. I did not upload on YouTube anymore. And then I said, well, you know what? This is not worth it. So I went over to Rumble, and I went over to the alternatives so I would not get banned. This is a whole entire time in history that's very, very, it was crazy because you were trying to find out how you can create your own platform, but it's just not possible to create your own platform. So you are waiting it out to see who can create a platform for you that would allow you to have freedom of speech and to actually say your opinion online. It's very, very incredible the time that we went through. So with that being said, we are going to be digging into Claudia Sheinbaum, which is Mexico's new president. What to know about Claudia Sheinbaum, which is first woman president, according to Axios. Why it matters. Her election marks a groundbreaking achievement in the country with a strong culture of machismo and high rates of violence against women. So she has also made history in the first Jewish person to be elected president of the Catholic country. Sheinbaum, a climate scientist, and a former mayor of Mexico City, will have the chance to put out her stamp in Mexico's climate and immigration policies once she takes office on October 1st. So, what's your background? She was born in Mexico City in 1962 to parents who worked both in the sciences, per the New York Times. Both sets of Sheinbaum's grandparents were Jewish people who immigrated to Mexico from Lithuania in Bulgaria, per the Times. Sheinbaum first met her husband, Jesus Maria Tarabia, a financial risk specialist at the Bank of Mexico, while they were both in university. The pair reconnected in recent years and married in 2023, yada, yada, yada. Her career as a scientist. During her doctoral studies in the 1990s, she spent 4 years doing energy engineering research at the University University of California, Berkeley, Reuters reported. In 2006, she joined the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, so she's a Wokey, becoming a member of the team that would win the Nobel Peace Prize the following year. CNN reported that does not mean anything. They give a Nobel Peace Prize to a ham sandwich if they really wanted to. 2015, she became the head of Mexico City's largest borough. She remained in the role until 2017 and was elected Mexico City mayor the next year. Sheinbaum is also a member of the AMLO's leftist Morena party. Still, Sheinbaum told the New York Times that she and the AMLO are different people with different priorities. She also told the Times that she was prepared to work with whichever candidate wins this year. Consequential United States election, she better. She also vowed to continue Mexico in the United States' efforts to address migration by tracking its root causes as well, per the Times. Yeah, but I don't believe that whatsoever, because why would you want to keep all the people that are causing a ruckus, breaking your laws in Mexico? So I don't believe you whatsoever. Of course, this is a woke person. I don't believe a word that they say or she says until she actually implements these policies that she's speaking of. Until she actually implements these policies that she's speaking of, I do not believe a word that she says, for good reason. So, moving on with the next article, we actually have a Biden campaign says that it will continue to accept dark money despite previous condemnations. Biden said dark money erodes public trust in elections. Then his campaign took mystery $64 million dark money donation. President Joe Biden's 2024 presidential campaign said this week that the stakes of the upcoming election were sky high, so it will again accept dark money donations despite previously condemning such donations. Biden's campaign made a statement to the CBS News as it reported on the massive $64 million anonymous donation that it sent to its campaign in 2020. The donation was routed to his campaign coffers through the Impetus Fund, a 401c4 tax exemption organization that says it is focused on social welfare. Okay. What is social welfare, right? Imagine donating to a company that says that they're going to be giving welfare to society, and then all of a sudden they give all of the money that you donated to, $64 million, to Joe Biden. That's crazy. The pledge to accept dark money comes after Biden previously said that dark money erodes public trust and that it flows in the shadows to influence our elections. However, like in 2020, Biden again has signaled that he has no issue taking money that is routed to his campaign coffers without scrutiny. The stakes of this election are sky high, a Biden advisor told CBS. We will protect our democracy with every tool that is legally available. Okay, so legally available. So prosecuting your political rivals is legally available to you? Yeah, disgusting. The focus on Biden's acceptance of dark money comes in lingering questions about the mysterious $64 million donation. A large bulk of the donation, $55 million, was moved from the Impetus to Future Forward USA Action, a nonprofit Biden supporter PAC. Then Future Forward USA Action sent $60 million to Future Forward PAC for use of the electioneering. CBS News reported. Since the money was sent to the nonprofit first, the donors/donators were shielded from exposure. Little is known about the DC-based Impetus Fund, except that it says it works with change makers across the country to unlock a more inclusive, accessible, and vibrant democracy. Vibrant democracy by donating millions of dollars in shadowy organization funds? That's not vibrant democracy. That's just you having an autocracy, choosing who the candidate you want to be, and donating all the money and assets you have available to that candidate. That's an autocracy. The group's president, Ariza Risi, is tied to Democrat election lawyer Mark Elias. Reese is a political law chair at the Elias Law Group. Impetus is a project of Arimbalia Advisors, a massive leftist dark money group that led about $3 billion on hand to the 2022 midterm elections. Back in 2020, it had $410 million it used against former President Donald Trump and Senate Republicans. Biden's acceptance of dark money funding has drawn criticism from government watchdog groups. For too long, the left has been playing a game of decrying dark money while at the same time being fully dependent on it, even supercharging Biden's re-election campaign. Caitlin Sturgeland, the executive director of Americans for Public Trust, told CBS. Anna Masolig, I can't even pronounce her last name, the editorial and investigators manager at Open Secrets, said that dark money hid important information about who was trying to influence American voters. Of course, that's what I'm saying. Without information about who is funding groups spending to influence elections, voters don't know who is trying to color their views, won't be aware of any political conflicts of interest that as a funder has or what stake they have in the outcome of the election, she said. So for the 2024 election cycle, Biden has held a significant advantage in fundraising, but with Trump pulling closer to in recent months, with big polls coming alongside his legal battles, is coming closer and closer, of course, because of the fact that people donated so much to Trump's campaign that Joe Biden needs to get his dark money supporters to actually support him, or else he's going to fall behind in the donating and let Trump come in front of him in the donating efforts. So, of course, the Democrats can't stand when another Democrat is not getting enough traction or not getting enough support than their Republican counterpart. It's just crazy. And then what they do is they have all the shadowy organizations to actually help their case, and then they just call in their friends over in the deep state, and then they donate all of the money and the assets that they have available to actually help their campaign. It's disgusting because Republicans don't have that on that side. The Republicans have the regular people like me and you, the regular people that actually care about this country to actually support this country. But then the Democrats have all of the organizations and the shadowy organizations to stay on their side and to help them through the times that they don't have as much supporting. It's disgusting. It frankly is disgusting. With that being said, we're going to be digging into the headlines of the week. So digging right into the headlines of the week, we actually have Biden migrant crime. Trump slams Biden after illegal immigrants allegedly shoot 2 NYPD cops. This is according to the Daily Wire. Former President Donald Trump ripped into President Joe Biden on Monday over his handling of legal immigration after an illegal immigrant from Venezuela allegedly shot 2 New York cops. They say allegedly just because they have to, but I would like to see this footage. Trump said that Biden had enabled a wave of crime from illegal immigration that was endangering the public. His comments came after the police said that a 19-year-old Bernardo Raul Castro Meta shot officers Christopher Abero and Richard Yosero after they attempted to question him about a robbery. Biden migrant crime is out of control and is ravaging America. Last night, 2 brave NYPD officers doing their job were shot by a monster illegal immigrant who came here illegally from Venezuela last year and was living in a taxpayer-funded migrant shelter. So let me get this straight. They take our American assets and free goodies that we give them and then shoot our law-abiding officers, shoot our people that are actually making sure that they don't break any crimes while they're here. Yeah, you should be immediately not just sent over to Mexico, but put in jail. You're just put in jail. We're not going to play around with you. You're automatically arrested. And that's it. You're done. You don't go back to your country. You're arrested. You broke the law here, and that's it. That's what Mexico would do to us. That's what China would do to us. China would just shoot us on the spot. If we were to shoot one of their cops, that would be no joke about what China would do to us. They would torture us. They would just kill us. You would want to be dead after China gets their hands on you. So why don't we do the same thing to people that are not even legally a citizen of America, killing our citizens, not even just our citizens, but our cops, people that we rely most to keep us safe? That's disgusting. Okay, so I read that. Crooked Joe Biden has trafficked in the worst people from around the world, many of horrendous criminal records, and unleashed them into our communities. The former president then pivoted, saying that the border needed to be secured and a border wall built. Soros-funded DA Alvin Bragg should focus on keeping the streets of New York safe, but instead wasted time and money engaging in a ridiculous political witch hunt against yours truly, he said. We must focus on finishing the wall, securing the border, and keeping our streets safe. MAGA 2024, I couldn't agree more. According to the investigators, police attempted to stop the illegal immigrant on Monday after they saw him driving a mopped down on the wrong side of the street as they investigated a robbery in Queens at 1:40 a.m. After police attempted to speak with him, the illegal immigrant ran away on foot and fired multiple times at the officers, hitting one of them in the bulletproof vest and another in the leg. According to the New York City Police Commissioner Eddie Cubbon, the police officers responded shooting in the ankle. The officers were taken to the nearby hospital and they were in stable condition. Thank God. The illegal immigrant is expected to survive after having surgery on his foot. That's disgusting. Okay, so we don't need a person like this in America. So if you're not going to deport them, then arrest them. And then if you deport them, they're just going to come back to America. So I say just arrest them. Don't even risk the hassle of it. According to the NYPD detective Joseph Kenny, the illegal immigrant illegally crossed into Eagle Pass, Texas in July of 2023. Kenny added that the Castro Meta's current address was at the hotel and has been turned into a housing for immigrants. Yes, of course, because if you're a hotel, why wouldn't you accept money to fully book out your hotel almost every single day? Of course, I don't blame the hotels. I blame the government for actually doing this. Crazy stuff. And this is all Joe Biden's fault. At the end of the day, this is Joe Biden's fault. And this is Merrick Garland's fault, too, for not doing anything. According to the Federalist, Merrick Garland shouldn't be praised. He should be impeached. I could not agree more. No, the system is not working. It's no incident that the Wall Street Journal ran an exclusive hagiographic piece on Merrick Garland by the book Play No Favorites Approach, the day the Attorney General is set to be grilled by Congress. The administration wants to paint the AGs as a fair-minded discerner of justice. In truth, while Garland might occasionally, only when faced with no real options, put the Biden administration in an uncomfortable political position, he has regularly weaponized the agency to target the president's political enemies, from pro-life protesters to concerned parents to presidential candidates. Even as I write this, Garland is refusing to hand over audio recordings of Joe Biden's interviews with special counsel Robert Hur, despite a congressional subpoena. Even the DOJ stonewalls Congress. It is prosecuting the Republican presidential primary candidate for crimes of which the Hur tape supposedly exonerates, Biden says. Even though the Hur tape supposedly exonerates Biden, Garland's claims of exclusive executive privilege are resistible. If Biden's audio can be withheld from the public simply because someone somewhere might manipulate the tape using AI, then any audio of the president can be denied to the public. That's exactly the point that they're trying to do. Also, why is this the DOJ's concern? Considering that her transcript has already been released, and we all know that Biden lied about it, there's even less justification for withholding the audio. And considering the DOJ has apparently cleaned up the uhs and the ohs and garbled words in the transcript, the tape would likely further cement the president as an elderly man with a poor memory. So the real problem here isn't the deep fake, it's the unedited tape. Withholding the audio is obviously politically motivated, which is unsurprising since Garland has been one of the most partisan AGs in memory. While Garland was raiding the home of the former president over a classified document dispute, he was letting the statute of limitations on the foreign influence peddling by the president's family run out. While left-wing pro-Hamas protesters were rioting and targeting Jews, Garland was still fomenting over the coming MAGA extremist revolution, inflating the threat with bogus statistics. While Garland did nothing about those likely illegally picketing the homes of federal judges and attempting to intimidate them in influence cases, even after an assassin tried to kill Brett Kavanaugh, the DOJ was deploying armed teams to raid homes of pro-life families and prosecuted elderly anti-abortion protesters for praying in front of clinics, quote unquote. Even as Democrats are yammering about saving democracy, the DOJ has been working to undermine the electoral choices of voters in red states like Texas. Abortion is not a pretend constitutional right anymore. The DOJ does not care. The DOJ is restarting censorship efforts under the guise of stopping foreign interference and also targeting X owner Elon Musk, who has opened his platform to more natural speech. It's quite the happening stance, right? Not only Garland formed a task force to investigate local parents who were participating authoritarian COVID restrictions and racist circulations, but he refused to dissolve the effort even after the National School Board Association apologized for the letter that sparked it. Of course, it was the Biden administration that prompted the organization to use the term domestic terrorism to give the DOJ justification to get involved in the first place. Even the New York Times acknowledged that Garland did not detail any specific threats of violence or offer reasons for the increase in harassment or threats. The only reason to get involved was to chill speech and intimidate parents, no matter. So, of course, Garland is a political hack. He should be impeached. He needs to get out of there because of the fact that you cannot have a attorney general or attorneys general that is a corrupt partisan hack, because of the fact that he's not going to be looking at the cases the right way. He's not going to be looking at cases nonpartisanly. He's going to have his political motive behind whatever he chooses to do next. That's not a good thing that we need in America. We need a person that wants to prosecute things based on the law. We need a person that actually wants to prosecute because of the fact that there is evidence to back it up, not because of the fact that it's going to be good politically for the president of America. And of course, if Trump was in the White House right now and Merrick Garland was the attorneys general at the time of Trump being in the presidency, then of course the Merrick Garland would not act the way that he does. He definitely wouldn't, because of the fact that he would just lose his job. So again, the DOJ is controlled by the president, and the president at the time, Joe Biden, is using the DOJ to just do his political workings for him. He's asking the DOJ to overstep its authority and actually prosecute Joe Biden's political rivals for him. That's an autocracy. That's a dictator. That's a dictator. That's a dictator. That's a tyrant. That's a person that actually they called Trump. That's a person that for the last, 8 years or so, they said Trump is this person. Trump is a dictator. Trump is a person that's going to take democracy. But then Joe Biden does the very thing that they accused Trump of doing. And then if Trump did 1/4, maybe 10% of what Joe Biden is doing, Trump would be impeached 3 times over. Even the case against Hunter Biden, used most often by the left to banish Garland's alleged Solomonic credentials, is a farce. Let's not forget, if the Justice Department had its way, the case would have disappeared. To begin with, Garland ignored the law and appointed a counsel from within the government, David Weiss, whose office was filled with Biden allies, was prepared to give Hunter an astonishing immunity deal, not only on the felony gun and the tax charges, but on a slew of unrelated serious potential offenses, including failure to register a foreign agent, bribery, and corruption. It was only because of the whistleblower testimony of Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler that was forced to ask Hunter Biden to plead guilty to 2 peddling misdemeanor counts, and the immunity deal was only quashed because Judge Marcelin Nurkaria, who pointed out that there was not a single president in which immunity was offered for crimes in a different case, rejected it. In his remarks to Congress today, Garland promised that he would not back down from defending our democracy, despite the repeated attacks and conspiracy theories regarding the DOJ. Some conspiracy theories exist, no doubt, but most criticisms of Garland's work are legitimate. Treating criticism of his corrupt tenure as an attack on the judicial process itself has it backward. Demanding no one question the actions of state institutions as authoritarian. If the system were working properly, Garland would be impeached, of course, because of the fact that Garland is a political hack and cannot be nonpartisan. But in their efforts to quote-unquote save democracy, a concept that has been stripped of any meaning, Democrats have justified deploying the state to punish and destroy political enemies. For many progressives, the legal system isn't merely a tool for criminal justice, but a way to exact political justice. Garland is one of the leaders in this fight, whether it's because he is a weak man, willing to do what's expected of him, or because he is a corrupt. It makes no difference whatsoever. Of course, and this is completely right from the Federalist, because if a person decides not to do their job properly, it's because these 2 options. It's because he does not know how to do his job properly, or he's corrupt. So which one is it? Choose your poison, because it's the same exact situation. Either way you slice it. But of course, he's not going to be accepting this whatsoever. So with that being said, we're going to be moving into the media's takes. So moving right into the media's takes, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have Biden signs weak executive order to address his border crisis after claiming that he couldn't do it. President Joe Biden signed a weak executive order on Tuesday to address the border crisis he caused that resulted in millions of illegal aliens overrunning the border over the last 3.5 years. Biden signed an executive order that will temporarily shut down asylum requests once the average number of daily encounters tops 2,500 between official ports of entry, NBC News reported. Former Obama Homeland Security Johnson previously said that 1,000 apprehensions at the border a day was a bad number that overwhelms the system. A former United States law enforcement official told the Daily Wire that the executive order was designed to do little more than generate headlines, and the Mexican drug cartels would simply send the migrants that they are smuggling into the country to the official unofficial points of entry to turn themselves in. The administration released a fact sheet that claimed that illegal aliens who entered the United States would be barred from receiving asylum. However, the fact sheet said that these actions are not permanent. The executive order comes after Biden has reportedly claimed that he will do anything to address the border crisis that he himself caused, which approximately 10 million aliens flooding into the country let happen. So of course, these 10 million illegal immigrants are now in the country. What are they doing? Causing harm, shooting our policemen, shooting our citizens, killing our economy. They're just taking from the system, but not putting back into the system. Maybe 25% of these people. So I would say what? 3 million of these 10 million people, max, maybe even less, are going to actually get a job and actually contribute to the system that 90, maybe even 75%, maybe that's giving them a good number here. 75%, maybe. Percent of these 10 million people are going to be taking from. That's not going to be offsetting whatsoever. And even if these illegal immigrants do get a job, they're not going to be paying taxes because they're an illegal immigrant. They don't have a social security number unless they get the green card, in which case they came in illegally, so they can be deported. So again, they're not opt to do so. They just opt to take from the system. It's window dressing. Everybody knows it. Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican from LA, said that if he was concerned about the border, he would have done something a long time ago. I completely agree. The White House claims that if the Biden administration has been through the border and suggested that if he stopped the flow of fentanyl into the United States, even though overdose deaths continue to rise from illicit drug, the administration also has claimed that Biden has reached a historic bipartisan agreement with Senate Democrats and Republicans to deliver the most consequential reforms of America's immigration laws in decades. That's not true, because Trump had the best immigration laws, even though Republicans overwhelmingly did not support the law because they argued that it legalized illegal immigration. Yeah, of course. So we just need to go back to Trump-era policies. That's it. Just the Trump-era policies. That's all that we need because of the fact that it actually fixed this problem. So these are the NGOs facilitating the mass immigration under the banner of religion. So this is exactly what the Biden administration is using as a tool to actually push illegal immigration, because of the fact that they want the illegal immigration to come over here. So then the illegal immigrants can then vote in our country. And a lot of people say, oh no, this is not happening. This is not happening. It is happening because we're not passing a law that says you cannot do so. Massachusetts, you can already do this. While much of the blame of America's unprecedented border crisis falls at the feet of the policies implemented by President Joe Biden, a network of government-funded, religiously affiliated nonprofit organizations is spending massive sums of money to facilitate waves of illegal immigrants into the United States. These groups, which prevent religious groups, have disseminated rules of the importation of millions of migrants into the United States. They encourage migration along the Central American route that leads to the United States border, and then offer cash, as well as legal and resettlement services to many of the more 10 million people who've attempted to cross the border since Biden took office. The NGOs, which on their face represent Jewish, Catholic, and Protestant Christian faiths, rake in millions of taxpayer dollars as they create a pipeline of Central American to the Rio Grande in the Sonorian Desert, the doorstep of the United States. The Conservative Heritage Foundation has called it a corrupt money-changing cycle, in which taxpayers are funding migration weaponized used against Americans' interests. One of the groups has received the most attention for its facilitation of the illegal immigration is Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, known more commonly as HIAS, founded in 1881 to assist Jewish immigrants to get to the United States who were fleeing persecution in Russia and Eastern Europe. The group now operates both in Central America and throughout the United States. Putting the spotlight especially on HIAS is the fact that it counts Department of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, who has overseen the border for the unprecedented surge of illegal immigration, as one of its previous board members. HIAS has routinely shown its support for the Biden administration official from the moment that it has nominated. He knows that America is at its greatest when we build bridges, not walls. The group wrote in an endorsement to the pick regarding Mayorkas' impeachment. The group said that it was profoundly disappointed, of course, because Mayorkas is allowing this group to rake in millions of dollars per year, and they think that we should just have an open country. A country without borders is not a country, it's just a plot of land. So what are we talking about here? If you look at China has a great wall to protect its country with armed civilians around its wall. You can look at every other North Korea. They do not allow anybody to come through from South Korea. You need to come in from Russia. If you break into Russia, you will be shot on the spot. If you break into China, if you break into any of these other places, you are shot on the spot. You are not given the opportunity. You're certainly not giving a hotel to stay in here illegally and given free food. No, you're shot on the spot and that's it. Or you're imprisoned and then tortured because they think that you're a spy. So all these other countries, am I saying that it's correct way to handle immigration? No. But am I saying that their immigration system is way better than America's? Yes, of course. Because they don't have this problem of people just shooting their cops in the middle of the street. They don't have this problem whatsoever because they just don't deal with the problem. Their deal here of the problem is just shooting the person. That's it. There's no more problem because they're dead. Now, moving into the next article, we actually have a Breitbart article of Kamala Harris joins Biden campaigner Jimmy Kimmel to trash cheater Trump. Vice President Kamala Harris joined Jimmy Kimmel live tonight, late Tuesday, in an effort to lay the preventable blow on Donald Trump after his New York felony conviction of 34 counts, calling the former president a, quote, cheater, underserving of the highest office in the land. Her rush to exonerate Trump follows a trend already set by President Joe Biden the night before, as he sought to discredit his likely GOP foe in the 2024 presidential race. As Breitbart News reported, Biden attacked Trump as a convicted felon in a virtual perspective campaign speech Monday night, declaring his clearly unhinged Republican rival somehow snapped in the wake of losing the 2020 election, which is just stupid. Harris chose her moment in the TV spotlight to chime in on the state court case after the administration in the campaign had said little at the 6-week trial played out. In the studio in Hollywood, Harris told Jimmy Kimmel to disdain for cheaters in their like. A jury of 12 people peers over the course of 6 weeks deliberated on the evidence and the facts and anonymously determined guilt on 34 felony counts. This was a defense attorney who actively participated in selecting the jury, who actively made decisions about the witness calls, witness to cross-examine, and the jury made their decision. And, I think that the reality is cheaters don't like getting caught and being held accountable. The reality is, let's just fast forward again to November. I think the American people want to know that there is a president who is accountable to the people. There is no president. Okay, so let me just break this down for Kamala Harris. Okay, because I think that you fell out of the coconut tree, right? Kamala Harris. Never in American history has a president been convicted of 34 felony counts because of the fact that this has never occurred in history that a political rival has been tried and charged just for running as the president of America, being the president of America for 4 years, and then trying to run again because it's undoing what the Democrats want to do. That's exactly what's happening. Trump is undoing what the Democrats want to do. That's why they hate him so much. He does not go along with the mainstream. He does not go along with whatever they tell him to do. That's why they can't control him. They can control Joe Biden. He's just a puppet on the strings for the leftists in the deep state. That's exactly why. The deep state are people that cannot get fired and is not held accountable by the people. We elect most of our people, but there's some people that we do not elect, and there's some people that just will not be replaced because they're too scared to replace them. So, of course, the 34 felony counts are the same exact charge, just done so many different times. There's 3 different charges, but then they rephrased it. They did this, and then they rephrased the question, and then they restated it, and then they changed the wording just a little bit so they can charge him 34 different times on 3 different charges, which is just stupid because last time that I checked, paying somebody because of the fact that it's not so good for your campaign if this information was to come out is not against the law. Having sex with somebody is not against the law. So, of course, it's not a good thing. We're not going to have the argument that Trump is the most morally superior person on earth. He's obviously not. He had the best TV show in America. He had the most exciting TV show, The Apprentice. He's a well-known figure. I'm not going to make the argument that Trump is the most virtuous person. I'm not going to go and do that because it's not going to, obviously, he's not. But what I am going to make the argument of is, according to the law, paying people off to shut their mouths and then signing a non-disclosure agreement, the NDA, is not against the law. As long as you're not doing something illegally and then paying somebody off because they're going to be a witness of you, that's not paying off a witness. That's saying, listen, Stormy Daniels, I know that we just did this a few years back here, maybe in 2008 or 2004 or something like that, 2006. I'm going to be running for president. I would like you to shut your damn mouth. Here's $100,000. Just shut your mouth. And then she signs the NDA, accepts the money. The last time that I remember an NDA NDA means that you cannot disclose the information. Why the hell is she opening her mouth after signing an NDA? Because she does not want to go along with the NDA. She does not want to go along with that whatsoever. That's exactly why she's opening her mouth, even though she took the money from Trump. I don't know when the last time is that you paid somebody to shut their mouth and then they open their mouth after taking your money. So not only did they take Trump's money in the aspect of he paid off Stormy Daniels, but also E. Carroll took millions of dollars from Trump just because it was in New York and they hate Trump. So they took money from him. So of course, E. Carroll doesn't even remember what season, does not remember what year, does not remember kind of what store. She doesn't even remember what happened. There's no security footage whatsoever. And she waited from 1980s? She waited until 50 years later and then said, well, I would like some money, please. And then comes into the court system. And the court system hates Trump. That's exactly how E. Carroll got her money. So of course, it's an unfair prosecution against Trump. We already know this. Kamala Harris can't seem to grasp the idea, but also she can't seem to grasp any idea without seeing a Venn diagram. So maybe we'll do a Venn diagram for you. It's like, what do you have in common with a piece of spaghetti? Okay. And the similarities are more than you think, right in the middle there. Oh yeah, before we go, I did want to talk about X's new policies. So X, formerly known as Twitter, has just updated its policy to allow NF porn more broadly to be allowed on its platform as long as it's marked. So this is not a good policy whatsoever. I relentlessly contacted X. I said, no, we're not going to allow this. This is not a good policy whatsoever. There's a porn problem in the world. We should not be allowing more porn to be distributed all throughout America because of the fact that there is a big problem here. There's so many people addicted, and now we're just adding another faucet for people to be addicted to, ruining marriages, ruining the way that the mind works. The mind is not wired in a way to actively look for people having sex with different people every single day. That's not how the mind is supposed to work. It's going to ruin your mind. It's going to rot your brain out, and it's going to make you addicted. So this is May 2024 adult content policy from X. So you may share consensually produced and distributed adult nudity or sexual behavior provided it's properly labeled and not permanently displayed. We believe that users should be able to create, distribute, and consume material related to sexual themes as long as it is consensually produced and distributed. No, but that's not edifying for you. That's not something that's going to be good for you long term. So even though it's consensual, it does not mean that it's going to be a good thing. Sexual expression, whether visual or written, can be a legitimate form of artistic expression. Okay, well, what artistic expression are you doing? Are you dancing naked? No, you're not. You're having sex. That's not an expression of artistic design. That's not. We believe in the autonomy of adults to engage with and create content that reflects their own beliefs. My belief is that you should not be allowed to distribute porn. So that's actually coming against my belief. Desires and experiences, including those related to sexuality. No. This is not a good policy, X. We balance this freedom by restricting exposure to adult content for children or adult users who choose not to see it. Okay, so if you choose not to see it and it pops up on my For You page, how are you going to handle this? Are you going to have a section on my account that said limit sexual nudity now because now it's a porn site? X is taking the literal approach to X, literally X-rated. We also prohibit content promoting exploitation, non-consensual objectification, sexualization to or harm to minors. Okay, so to minors. Okay, so that's the bare minimum you could possibly do. And abstain behaviors. Okay, so an abstain behavior is literally having sex in the public eye. Having sex out in public. That's an abstain behavior. We do not allow the sharing of adult content in highly visible places such as public profile photos or banners. Yeah, but they will still do this. How do we define adult content? Full or partial nudity, including close-ups of genitals, buttocks, or breasts. Explicit or implemented sexual behavior or simulated acts such as sexual or intercourse or other sexual acts. So you're supposed to mark your content now. So no, this is not a good policy. This has millions and millions of views, and this only has 1.9 thousand likes. The rest are from people saying this is not a good policy whatsoever. So yeah, this is not good whatsoever. Again, people disagree with this relentlessly. Yeah, so instead of it being x.com, it should be named xxx.com. It's just crazy. This is not a good policy whatsoever. Again, I disagree with this policy relentlessly, and more people should be talking about this policy. What I am going to be doing is I'm going to be actually removing my gold check mark from Arujo Studios on Twitter because they are getting hundreds of dollars every single month. So now I will be removing my gold check mark, so I'm not an official organization on Twitter anymore until Elon Musk's fix this problem, because I'm not going to be paying him hundreds of dollars for a policy that I do not agree with. So I'm taking that money away from him. I'm also stopping advertising on X/Twitter because I do not agree with this policy, and I will continue the advertising on X/Twitter once this policy gets dismantled and does not continue to exist. So until then, I will be removing all money that I'm contributing to this platform because I do not agree with this policy. Again, with that being said, we're going to end off this episode right here. I know this is a longer episode because we were digging deep into exactly what Dr. Fauci was actually saying in Congress, because it's very interesting to stay up to date on those things. Like I said, it's linked down below if you do want to see that and you do want to read the whole entire transcript of that. Maybe tomorrow we're going to be digging, maybe not tomorrow, but next episode, maybe we're going to be digging into the other doctor that was the head of the CDC, which is Dr. Howe Archerklaus or Dr. Cliff Lane. We might dig into one of these people. So if you do want to hear the testimonies and the House Oversight Committee from both of these people, comment down below and then we'll dig into either of these people next episode. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.